The first research study that has undergone peer review has been released to demonstrating the successful transplantation of genetically modified pig kidneys into a human who was brain dead. These kidneys replaced the original kidneys of the recipient and were of clinical grade quality. The success of this transplant shows that xenocranalization could be a solution to the global shortage of organs for transplant.
Societies face numerous challenges, including inequality, discrimination, and social injustice. It's important to recognize these issues and work towards building a more equitable and compassionate society. By raising awareness, supporting marginalized communities, and advocating for social justice, we can work towards creating a better future for all.
A novel approach has been developed that enables researchers to track gene expression during the development of bacterial communities over time and space. Using this cutting-edge technique, scientists have demonstrated for the first time that bacteria collaborate and exchange nutrients across generations when they form communities. A recent study, co-authored by a researcher from Tulane University, has found evidence suggesting that violence was a prevalent aspect of life within ancient hunter-gatherer communities. The study examined skeletal remains dating back 10,000 years from burial sites in northern Chile, specifically looking for signs of trauma. These findings provide insights into the historical prevalence of violence among early human societies. Work and personal lives underwent enormous disruption during the pandemic, with people working from home experiencing increased loneliness and a range of mental health issues. Under normal circumstances, the younger generations of workers need additional support from their managers, and that was exacerbated during the pandemic, when we saw that relative newcomers to the workforce did not cope as well under the pressures of remote working. Contrary to the commonly held view, the brain does not have the ability to rewire itself to compensate for the loss of sight, an amputation or stroke, for example, say scientists. The researchers argue that the notion that the brain, in response to injury or deficit, can reorganize itself and repurpose particular regions for new functions is fundamentally flawed, despite being commonly cited in scientific textbooks.
The internal clocks of grizzly bears appear to keep ticking through hibernation, according to a genetic study. This persistence highlights the strong role of circadian rhythms in the metabolism of many organisms, including humans. The genetic study confirmed observational evidence that bears' energy production still waxes and wanes in a daily pattern even as they slumber for several months without eating.
Pavlov proposed over a century ago that the sight, smell, and taste of food are important for regulating digestion. More recent studies in the 1970s and 1980s have also suggested that the taste of food may restrain how fast we eat, but it's been impossible to study the relevant brain activity during eating because the brain cells that control this process are located deep in the brainstem.
Cambridge scientists have shown that placing physical constraints on an artificially intelligent system in much the same way that the human brain has to develop and operate within physical and biological constraints allows it to develop features of the brains of complex organisms in order to solve tasks.
plants possess an intricate system of roots that extends far beyond what meets the eye. These underground networks serve a crucial purpose in absorbing water and nutrients from the soil. This remarkable feature enables plants to thrive in demanding environments like deserts. Mesquite trees, for example, have tap roots that can delve over 50 yards deep in search of water.
A person's demographic and social background can influence their attendance at cultural venues and events. Household composition, in particular, plays a significant role in shaping cultural preferences. For instance, families with young children are more likely to visit theme parks and amusement centers, while single individuals may be more inclined to attend concerts and art galleries.
Conventional theories about black holes, based on Einstein's theory of general relativity, typically explain how static or spinning black holes can exist on their own, isolated in space. Black holes in pairs would eventually be thwarted by gravity attracting and colliding them together. However, this is true if one assumes the universe is standing still. But what about one which is constantly moving?
Around one of the adult population are defined as psychopaths, meaning they possess no conscience, shame, guilt, or ability to experience love or feel empathy towards other people. Drive Body will discuss how they appear as potentially effective leaders, how they get to the top, and what they do once they have achieved leadership. The hardness of materials is determined by the strength of the chemical bonds that are formed between the electrons of the neighboring atoms. For example, the bonds in diamond are very strong, so it is one of the hardest materials known. The bonding is rooted in the laws of quantum mechanics.
Changing temperatures shifts the energy balance of ecosystems, from plants that produce energy from sunlight to the animals that consume plants and other animals, subsequently altering the sensory worlds that animals experience. It is likely that climate change will challenge all of their senses, from sight and taste to smell and touch. Dairy products such as ice cream and yogurt have relied on natural vanilla for many years, Bright points out. In the U.S., Food Drug Administration rules state that vanilla ice cream must get its flavor from natural vanilla. If the flavor comes partially or fully from another source, the company must stamp vanilla-flavored or artificial vanilla on the front of the package. A likely turn-off to consumers.
Freed printing is advancing rapidly, and the range of materials that can be used has expanded considerably. While the technology was previously limited to fast-curing plastics, it has now been made suitable for slow-curing plastics as well. These have decisive advantages as they have enhanced elastic properties and are more durable and robust.
The largest terrestrial carbon sink on Earth is the planet's soil. One of the big fears is that a warming planet will liberate significant portions of the soil's carbon, turning it into carbon dioxide (COTWA) gas, and so further accelerate the pace of planetary warming. As the world strives to cut greenhouse gas emissions and find sustainable transportation solutions, University of Houston energy researchers suggest that hydrogen fuel can potentially be a cost-competitive and environmentally friendly alternative to traditional liquid fuels, and that supplying hydrogen for transportation in the greater Houston area can be profitable today. In the creative condition, the students were told to think of a friend who did something special and think of them as their creative friend who could help them solve any problem. This type of creativity training is called perspective shifting, in which the kids look at a problem through the eyes of someone else.
Pancreatic cancer is tricky to manage because it spreads easily and early, and the tumors have a unique biological makeup. But researchers made a breakthrough by learning about the genetic changes that occur during tumor migration, and also found a drug that can obstruct the process.
When an earthquake strikes, smaller quakes known as aftershocks can continue to shake the area for days to years after the original earthquake occurred. These smaller quakes decrease over time and are part of the fault readjustment process following the original quake. While aftershocks are smaller in magnitude than the main shock, they can still damage infrastructure and impede recovery from the original earthquake.